Okay, what we're going to talk about today is the BT_CS version 7. This is a EA that will show you all the currency strengths for 7 time frames, M5 through weekly, all on one chart. Plus it will also do a correlation, and it will build your baskets for you if you want to, and it'll create the text files and put those in your files folder so you can load them into your other programs. So the first thing we want to do is open up a chart, and I usually use the dollar yen. You can use whatever you want. This is the H1, just on a blank chart. Now to put the EA on here, I want to get rid of all this junk that's on here, including all the closes and opens and everything, all your candles. I want to get rid of all that stuff, so I'm going to go to properties, and we're going to turn off all the colors. Set them all to nothing. Just leave the background as black. On a background black. Turn these all off. Set them all to none. Just on a blank black chart. And you just have to turn it to a line chart, so, and you can turn the grids off. Don't make too much change in the grids, but you just set it to line chart so you don't get any. If you leave it set on candles, sometimes you get little blank spots around the chart. It looks kind of funny. Line chart you still will here and there, but you won't notice them. So you got okay. So now we got a blank chart. So now we go to the expert advisors, and the new one is the BT_CS version 7, which you can find in the zip file that's on the first page of the forum there. I'll put it in the zip file along with everything else we're talking about here. Now before I get into this, well, I can open it up here so we can see what it looks like. This is basically what it'll look like when you open it up. You'll have all your different time frames, your 15, M5, 15, all the way up to the weekly. These are all your currency strengths, and they're all sorted in the direction of the strength. So the strongest pair in the long direction right now will be the pound yen, and if you go down here, the strongest pair in the short direction is the euro pound. Now this is on the M5, and you got the M15, M30 all the way across, and these numbers on here are the currency strengths, are the strengths of this particular currency. Is actually the difference between the two different currencies. So in this case, there's a 28.19. Now this number is actually multiplied by 10, so the real strength, according to the indicator we'll be using, is 2.81. There's an indicator that I get these numbers from, but I used the multiplication factor of 10 in here just to make the chart look a little better, so I don't end up with a lot of, like down here I would have ended up with 0.005. I don't want all those decimal places. It just takes up a lot of space and makes the chart look kind of busy. Now the indicator I was referring to, where we get the numbers from, is the currency slope indicator. Show you what that looks like. This is what that particular indicator looks like. Now you notice here it says it's in H1. That's set up in the properties of the indicator, so I just set it for the H1. And you'll notice on the H1, if you see the Aussie dollar and the Canadian dollar at the other end, this pair would be the strongest buy right now. And if you look over in H1, you can see that's what we're showing up here. If you add these two numbers together, the 1.13 and the 1.53, you get 2.66, and if you look up here, it's 26.66. Like I said, I used the multiplication of 10 just to get it to look a little better up here, so I don't have so many decimal points. So that's what this corresponds to. So if we were to change this indicator, say to the daily, then these numbers would match with the daily, weekly, and so on and so on. So basically all we're doing is running this indicator in all these different time frames, these 7 different time frames, and putting them all on one chart here. Now you don't have to have this indicator on the chart. You just get rid of it. I'm going to show you one other thing here now. I had to modify it just a little bit. So the one the EA uses is called currency slope strength, and it's mod 1. Because, I'll show you here, we'll put that one on the chart. I got it all blacked out right now, so I'll probably, but you notice the numbers are gone. That's because when you try to call an indicator with those labels on it, you're going to start getting a bunch of errors down here in the error log for experts. So I did is modify it a little bit, and basically all I did was remove those numbers off the chart. Because if you go back over here, load this one back on, you notice they both look identical. The only difference is I removed this. You know, it would work fine. This one would work fine. We could call it from the EA, but the only thing is you get your log file filled up with a bunch of garbage after a while. So that's the only difference. But you do have to have the mod 1. You got to have it in your indicators folder. You don't have to have any of these on the chart. You can just delete them off. I just wanted to show you what they were, where I'm getting the numbers from. Here, just a minute. One other thing I can show you. Because if you open up this window up here, notice here's all your different currencies, your 7 currencies. I mean 8 currencies. Here's your 8 currencies. And if you go over here, you catch, hard to catch just the right candle because you can't see the candles, but there, that should be the last candle we're looking at. So those numbers would match up with what's on the chart and what's in the EA up above there in the list. And you can see over there the odd Aussie dollar and the Canadian dollar are the ones that make up the strongest buy right now. That's what we're showing up there. So get rid of this indicator. Like I said, we don't need it on the chart. We'll just get rid of it. Delete that. And I close this one down. I don't need it anymore. And nothing else to show over here, so we can get rid of that. And we just make this full screen. Okay, so now notice I have all time frames activated. We go back to the properties window here. These are just your basic settings. Now the minimum correlation, that's when we finally get over to the correlation basket. That's the minimum correlation is looking for. Now 0.8 refers to 80%. That means those pairs 80% of the time have an 80% chance of going in the same direction. So we're looking for 80% or better, and our correlation period we're looking at is a weekly. You can change this if you want to. We're looking at a correlation period of over a week's time. How do these pairs move together? And this number of pairs in the buy basket, sell basket refer to the number of pairs in the strength baskets. What we're going to be doing here is creating 4 different baskets or groups, and it will create automatically 4 different text files containing those 4 different groups. Here, this is basically strength. We'll be creating 4 strength baskets. I mean 2 strength baskets, a buy strength and a sell strength basket here, and over here this is the correlation baskets, the buy correlation and the sell correlation. based on what we got down here. Now we don't have no strength down here. You notice that we're not telling it to pick a certain strength, because what we're doing is picking the highest strength for the buy basket and the highest strength for the sell basket, which would be the Canadian yen down here at the bottom. It would start there, and you notice we're setting 5-5, so it's telling us which 5 it's picking. It starts here. In this case, it starts at the bottom and goes up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those are the 5 it uses because those are the 5 strongest. And in this basket, it would pick the 5 strongest up here, which are the 5 strongest at the top. Now, if we were to change this, so let's tell we want 7 in the buy basket. Click OK. And you notice now it picks 7. So now there's 7 in the buy basket. Now these are just the baskets for strength only. There's no correlation over here yet. So we're just doing some strength baskets. And if you notice over here, this is the files folder under the experts folder. You'll notice it has created text files for us. Now these names are fixed. For the strength basket, for the buy, it's called buy S. And for the sell basket, it's called sell S. S for strength. The sell C are for the correlation baskets. And the buy C up here is for the correlation basket. We'll get to those in a minute. But see here, you can see, here's our buy 7, which we got selected up here. We told it to tell us wanted 5 in the buy basket. And here it is right here. It created this text file for us. Now we can take this text file over and use it with our basket create indicator to create the basket. Same way with the sell. Here's our sell strength. Sell S, that's the strength basket. It created it for us using those 5. Of course, you can tell it to select all 28 if you want. There has to be 28 pair in this setup, but I don't think you want 28 pair in each one. Now these numbers up here, this is the total strength. So if you were to go back across here and add up the Aussie CAD, the Aussie Canadian dollar for every time period, it would come up to this 79.75. That's the total across. That's how we come up with the strength. So the Aussie Canadian dollar all has the strongest buy right now across all of the pair. And the Canadian yen is the weakest. So that one you'd be selling. You have the strongest sell at the bottom and the strongest buy at the top. And like I said, these are the totals. If you go across and add them all up, all of these, you find you find the AutoCAD, Aussie Canadian dollar here, it's 3.29. And here's 1.46. And up here you got a 28. And here you got 26. Here you get 14. If you add those all up, 6.16. Here you get a minus, you got to subtract that. If you add those all up, subtract this minus 1 off, you should end up with 79.75. Now if you don't want to, say if you only want to trade the H1, you only want the strengths for the H1, you can go over here and turn off these other ones. False. Set them to false. Okay, those are all false. I bring it back up again, and you'll notice the all highlighted in blue is hourly, because that's the only one we picked. And you notice I told you, remember these were totals over here? Well, the only one we got selected right now is the Aussie Canadian dollar, so the total is only going to be 26.66, which it is over here because that's the only one we're adding up. So the only one we're using right now is the H1. And if you look at all these numbers over here, they will match with the H1 right down the line, because that's how we're using. We're not summing all these. Now, of course, these are all updated, no matter whether if you got them turned on or not. But they're just not being used. If you got them turned off like this, they're gray. And these are updated about every 5 minutes. And it'll say updating right after the time frame there when it's doing its update. Okay, so that, let's go back and turn them all back on again. Let's hit reset, go back to the, okay, so there we've told it to build a basket out of 5 pair here and 5 pair here. That'll create the text files for you. Now the number here is the correlation. It checks the correlation of the first one in the list against all the other ones in the list. And it puts a number over here. Then what it does, it goes to the next one and it checks the correlation of this one against all of the other ones in the list. This is just the by list. And it puts a number there. It does the same down the line, it keeps going down, 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 and it compares the correlation. How does this one correlate to all the other ones? And it puts a number over here. That's for the by list. And also for the sell list, it also does the same thing. It looks at the first one, checks the correlation with all the other ones, and gives us a number over here. So then when you're done, you got a bunch of numbers over here of correlation. Here's the correlation for the buy list. And you'll notice this one right here, 8.44, has the highest correlation with all the other pairs over here. So what it does then, we're going to use that one to build our group or basket around. Over here, you notice it's the first one in the list. And it has a correlation of 1 because it's correlating to itself. And when you correlate to yourself, of course, it's going to be 100% because you move step back with yourself. And you'll notice, remember back in the properties of the EA, we told it to look for anything with 80% or higher. And that's just what it did. All these pairs meet that criteria of 80% or larger. Now we also, so this would create your correlation basket here. There would be, what, 3, 6, it'd be 8. It would be 8 pairs in their correlation basket if you wanted to use it. And down here we have your correlation basket for sell. This is the buy basket correlation. This is the sell basket correlation. And you notice it found Euro Aussie dollar as the strongest. Which is down here 5.8. And you notice you look through the list, that is the strongest one. So it used that and compared it to all the other ones, and it found 3 that would correlate with it 80% of the time or more. So now we have a sell basket correlation with 4 pair in it. And if you go back over here, here's our buy correlation 8, which it created 8. Remember we told it had 8 pairs. Here it is right here. There's the 8 pairs, you put them in there. And it had a correlation basket sell of 4, which is this one, see, sell C4. Sell correlation. The cells and the C are always the same. It just adds a number after. You can't change the name. And there you notice the same 4 that are in this basket. So it's created those. So now what you can do to create the baskets, Go back to our basket create chart. You do it on the same chart here. You don't have to open up any more charts to do this. And say we wanted to create an offline chart for this correlation basket of 8. Just give this a name. Remember, you can't have more than 9 characters in here, so I'm trying to put more than 9 in there. And remember, the basket was remember what the name was? It was called v8a. It was the v correlation 8. Okay, now we should be able to create a 60-minute offline chart doing that. Okay, so now we go up here, and let's see if we got a chart or not. There it is. It created the chart for us. There's the chart. That's your core 8. And that's the buy chart. That's the buy one. So, and you notice we're embedded in an uptrend here. So that's that one. Now what you can do okay, so now we got our offline chart open. So now what we can do, I'm just going to use a template here to get my indicators and that on. Okay, so I got my indicators set up here already. Of course, now this was for a 14-pair chart, so these settings for the HAS and the IXOs will probably not be correct for the chart. But now what we can do, we can go back and attach our BT14 version 11 EA. And we'll just give it a number here. And what we can do, I'm not going to do any settings or nothing on here right now. We just use the defaults. You can change these, but we're going to go down to where pairs to trade. You notice right now it's got all 14 pair in there. If I were just to attach this, you'd get 14 pair. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to use that same list I just created over here, which was what, a buy, BUI, correlation C8. I'm going to use that list. And there it comes up. There's your list. That's the same list that was over here. These 8 right here. That list right there. And there they are. So now, basically what you want to do, don't look too bad here. The HAS don't look too bad, so this could be a fairly close setting, but you'd have to adjust this. Basically all you have to do is turn on live trading and see what happens. Now there's one other thing here. I don't know if I mentioned it or not, but in the settings, make sure, I believe I told you to make sure you got all these pair in there. You don't just delete the ones off the bottom. Make sure this, if you use this list, the easiest way though to do it is to do the build yourself a text file like I did here. I'll show you. Here it is right here. Strength correlation 28. Those are the 28 pair. Build yourself a text file and put all the pair you want to use in there that are in your watch window up there. Make sure you know, check your watch window, make sure they're not hid or anything like that. Make sure they're all there. But you can create your own list here, and all you got to do is import this list. saves you some typing. So you can just go down here. And that list was SC28. SC28. Well, I could use the other one. Well, here what we can do is, let's do something else here. That would bring up the same list that's right on here now as what we did before. But what we can do, I can show you how it imports another list. You know, I got a C14 here, and this is our core 14 baskets. Say you only want to use that for checking strengths. It's best to have as many pair in that basket as you can on here for checking strengths. But I'm just going to show you that what happens when you put in another one. See, 14. Okay. There. See, it's only using 14 pair. Like I say, you want to use as many pairs as you can when you're checking for strength. So, you know, but like I say, you can use 14 you want, you can use 5 if it doesn't matter, but it's just that your strength numbers aren't going to be as accurate. See, in this case, when we only use 14 pair, we ended up with a correlation basket of 2 buy, 3 sell, and of course here you can pick as many as you want, but you notice the maximum is only, you only get, what, 7 there? 7 in the buy maximum, 7 as a sell maximum. So now we go back. Remember, this is an expert, so you gotta do the expert. And I'm going to reset it. So basically what it's going to do now when this is blank, it will pick this built-in list. That's the list it will use. I left that blank. If you leave that blank, you'll use the built-in list. And that's what it did. See, now we're back to our 28 pair again. And we're back to our same numbers we had before. So notice up here 2666. And we're back to our 7975. So basically that's how this thing works. So remember, that's a EA. You got to put it in your experts folder. That's where it's got to go. And you can run it on the same chart that you're going to put your indicator, your basket creator indicator on, which creates your baskets for you. Put it all on the same one. So that about wraps that up. I'll put it on the first page. It'll be in the zip file. Main thing is to remember to put make sure you put the currency slope strength mod 1 into your indicator folder. It's got to be in there. It doesn't have to be in the chart, but it's got to be in the folder. So be sure you put it in there. So that's about it for this time. Catch you next time. Okay, what we have here is the update to the BT_CS version 7 EA, which is the strength and correlation dashboard EA. What we have now is the BT_CS version 8. The only difference is there's just a few minor differences. You notice we've added a monthly column here now, so we do get the strengths for the month. And if you look at the settings, remember this is an expert, so it's got to go in the experts folder. You notice there are no longer any pairs you have to select. The EA does have a list of 28 pairs that it does use, and it will look at your broker to see if he carries all of those or not. If you don't, it will not use them. So you may not end up with 28 pairs here. In this case here, this broker does have all 28 pairs, so they all are listed. If your broker doesn't have all 28, you won't see 28 in the list. Other than that, that's about the only changes. You notice we have added a use monthly here, which, as you know, is set to false. Changes your monthly to gray here, so it does not get used in the calculation over here. In any of these calculations, it will not be used. Same way with any of the other ones. If you set them to false, these will turn gray and they will not be used. That about does it. The only other difference is you no longer have to have in this version, you no longer have to have this indicator. Remember, before we had to have this indicator here, the currency slope strength mod 1 in the indicators folder, because the AA would read the numbers from that. But I have now put the calculations inside the EA, so you have to have no indicators if you don't want to. The EA will run by itself. All the calculations are done internally, which makes it a little bit more efficient, a little bit quicker, and less CPU intensive. I know there has been some questions concerning these files that this EA does create. Now, as I said before, it will create a by S file, which is a basket of strength pairs. This is basically the strength column over here. That's this column here. And as you can see here, it says 5. That's because I have chosen to make my basket out of 5 for the buy side, and also down here for the sell side. As you can see, the little red squares there indicate I have selected 5. Now, that's the setting over in the settings folder, remember, when you set the 5. So these will always say buy S and sell S, and the number will represent the number you have in the settings, in this case 5. Now next time, like if I change the settings and say I want to do 6 or 7 or 8, it will create another file here called a buy S6 or a buy S7, or a sell S6 or a sell S7. Now if I stick with the buy, every time this chart updates, which is every 5 minutes, it doesn't update. And if I leave this set at 5 in the settings, and there is a buy S5 over here, it will overwrite the buy S5 because it's a new file being created. Even if it has different pairs up here, it will still overwrite it because it has the same name. So the buy S5 would always be the latest buy S5, same way with the sell S5. You had a buy S8 here, then that would be the latest of the buy S8s if you had picked 8 pairs up here to use. But now the correlation basket files are a little bit different because this keeps changing every time this chart updates. Correlation baskets, buy and sell over here, change. It's not like the strength baskets where you tell it how many you want in your basket. The correlation basket always uses the maximum number determined by that percentage, the correlation percentage that you have set. In our case here, remember in the settings it was 0.8, which is 80%. And you notice here we got 6 of them, and they're all 80% or greater, and they are being compared to the pound yen here, because you see that has a 1, which means it's 100% correlated because it's itself. There you see it just did an update there, but it looks like they all stayed the same on this particular update. So now if you look down into the files folder here, you should find a by C5. I mean C6. See, there it is right there. That should correspond to this 6 pairs. So if you double click on it, those are the 6 pairs that file corresponds to. We should have a cell C2 down here someplace, which is right here. You open it up, there are the 2 pairs that match up with the 2 in the cell correlation basket. Now if this does another update and say all of a sudden we get 3, 4, 5, 6 pairs showing up here in the correlation basket cell side, we will get another file created down here with that number of pairs after it. That's why you can see here this is run overnight. That's why that cell side has changed this many times. This time there was just 1 pair in it. At this time there was 2, this time 3, this time 4. It's been all the way up to a maximum of 8 at this particular period of time on the cell side. So now when you're using one of these to create your offline chart, probably what you want to do is look at the timestamp over here and pick the one that's got the latest timestamp and use that one. Same way with the buys up here on the correlation. You see we've had one that's up as high as 11. This particular basket had 11 in it that were 80% correlated. So you'd also there go by the latest timestamp here. Now if there's already, like say, a buy, in this case there's a buy C6 here. If these pairs changed to 6 different pairs, but if the number remained the same as being 6 pairs, it would overwrite this one. See, this one is if you look at it, this is the latest one right here. Now if there had been a previous one that had 6 pairs in it, it would have overwritten it because it would have the same name, by C6. So what you want to do is always look at the date over here and pick the latest one if that should be the one you want to use. Okay, so I think that just about covers the updates. Wasn't too many. Like I said, the main one gets all the calculations into the EA now, which makes it a little bit more efficient. So we'll give this one a try, and of course we added the monthly on here, so give it a try and see what happens.